Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, teaching unions say that 98% of schools in England will lose out from the new national funding formula announced before Christmas. The Education Department insists that more money will go into schools, with increases targeted on those with additional needs. But a new study by the National Union of Teachers and the Association of Teachers and Lecturers claims that a combination of rising overheads and more pupils means that almost all will receive less money per pupil. Kamian Zeram has this.
Good education is getting more expensive. Higher running costs, high expectations, and increasing numbers of pupils. But teaching unions say shrinking real terms budgets mean many schools already struggle to break even. And they warn it's going to get much worse. Hampstead Comprehensive in the capital. Like many inner city schools, increased investment over the last 20 years helped it thrive. But the head here is worried that the government's new internal funding formula prioritises disadvantaged rural areas. Schools like his will pay the price.
What it actually means is looking at whether a school can still run for 5 days a week, and I know there's one council in the UK that's looking to see whether that's still possible. Looking at whether we can still provide the breadth of lessons that we've traditionally been able to provide in schools up and down the country. Looking at whether we have to go beyond what's ever been accepted in terms of class size.
Today was for many the end of the school holidays, but for the parents of these North London primary school kids, Christmas was spent launching a campaign. They've called it Fair Funding for All Schools.
I think that parents, when they realise the scale of the cuts that all schools are facing, this isn't just London schools in Haringey, this is all schools across the country facing the biggest cuts we've seen in a generation.
Two teachers' unions analysed data for nearly 20,000 English schools. They claim that by 2020 there will be per-pupil funding cuts in 98% of them, with the biggest impact on those with most jams, families who are just about managing, as much as a £447 per year cut per pupil for primaries, £658 per pupil for secondaries. But the Department for Education says their latest proposals are intended to end what they call a postcode lottery in school funding. They dispute the union figures in a statement calling the claims fundamentally misleading. School funding is at its highest level on record. To suggest that we're taking money out of the system is simply incorrect. We are protecting per pupil funding.
But that's just not true. The schools with most just about managing children, on our analysis, are seeing very big cuts. And even the worst funded schools previously are seeing cuts as well. It's not true that schools are getting more money.
So where does the truth lie? Well, the overall schools budget is protected, but only in cash terms. And when inflation and rising overheads are taken into account, independent experts, including the Institute for Fiscal Studies, predict significant real terms cuts.
Kamian Zeram reporting.